Batman movies often call for a darker aesthetic with a greater sense of realism, but the same approach does not usually work for other superheroes. DC Comics' Caped Crusader has enjoyed a long series of grittier and relatively grounded film adaptations, most notably with Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy and Matt Reeves' The Batman. Comparatively, Man of Steel's wrong-headed take on Superman received mixed reviews, and the dark 2015 Fantastic Four definitively failed. So, why does Batman fit with the realism approach so well, while few other superheroes do? Beginning with Batman Begins, the Dark Knight trilogy proved that comic book characters could be presented in a serious, complex manner. This set a standard of realism for portraying superheroes on screen, and its influence can be found in most of the modern superhero movies that came after. The MCU represents a lighter side of this more realistic approach, while the darker and grittier side lives on in such movies as Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and comics-based television series like The Boys. The Batman is the latest superhero movie to make use of gritty realism, and it's one of the few to do so successfully. The Dark Knight trilogy and The Batman succeed where others fail, because Batman is uniquely suited to dark realism interpretations in a way that other superheroes are not. Because Batman lacks superpowers, as do most of his iconic foes, filmmakers can strip his stories of any fantastical elements in a way that would destroy heroes like Spider-Man, Superman, or Wolverine. Noble heroes like Superman also require a drastic personality shift to become angst-ridden or morally gray, but writing a dark and brooding Batman requires little deviation from his representation in the comics. Dark realism is ultimately true to Batman's character, and it warps superheroes who are not similarly equipped for it. Why Batman movies are always gritty and grounded following two serial films in the 1940s and a 1966 feature based on the Batman TV series starring Adam West. Tim Burton directed the first modern blockbuster movie starring the character in 1989. Burton's Batman was dark, eerie, and psychological, and it set the tone for subsequent live-action movies involving the Caped Crusader. Batman also coincided with a shift in the comics toward a darker version of Gotham's Dark Knight. The Comics Code Authority had forced the character into a light, child-friendly direction during the 1950s and 1960s, but DC began experimenting with a return to Batman's noir-inspired origins in the 1970s. Frank Miller's 1986 comic miniseries The Dark Knight Returns cemented Batman as a serious character. Since the 1980s, Batman has been geared toward dark and gritty realism in both film and comics, at least from a psychological point of view. The Dark Knight trilogy and The Batman are the most outstanding examples. Not having superpowers allows Batman movies to be more realistic. Batman is unique among major superheroes because he lacks enhancements outside the realm of possibility. His training and tools could be recreated in the real world, albeit for a massive price. It helps that his alter ego, Bruce Wayne, is a billionaire. This key element of Batman's character makes a purely realistic approach possible in the first place. Movies focused on heroes with superpowers must explain and factor those powers into the plot, and their presence immediately undercuts any attempt at realism. Movies like Man of Steel may be dark and filled with angst, but they will never be purely realistic in the same way that the Dark Knight trilogy and the Batman are. Batman's villains are frequently human characters. Batman's rogues gallery is filled with an even mix of villains with powers and without. Filmmakers can use Catwoman, Two-Face, the Riddler, and Scarecrow without introducing extraordinary elements. Even Batman's nemesis, the Joker, relies more on cruel creativity than unusual abilities, so the hero's greatest adventures can appear on the big screen without breaking the realism angle. The Dark Knight trilogy proved that even magical villains like Ra's al Ghul could be reasonably adapted to a more realistic Batman movie. While Batman has accrued a collection of super-powered enemies, his core crusade has always been against crime and corruption in Gotham. The enduring presence of Carmine Falcone, Sal Maroni, and the Penguin shows that these issues have remained relevant themes throughout Batman's long career. His central struggle is intensely realistic, so Batman movies can emulate the gritty realism of a crime drama and still stay true to the original comics. Batman comics are already dark and gritty nowadays. Current Batman comic stories continue to build off the direction set by DC in the 1980s. The majority of DC's mature Black Label comics focus on Batman or characters related to his world. Among the dozens of comics involving the hero released in 2022, Chip Zdarsky's Batman adds a dose of nihilism to the character's mythos, and Batman: Killing Time promises a violent heist thriller. Batman's dark and brooding nature remains one important element of his appeal, making him a perfect match for movies with a similar realistic edge. Movies that attempt gritty interpretations of morally pure heroes like Superman risk shortchanging those characters' original appeal for novelty. Such movies have the potential to leave audiences unsatisfied if the character that appears on screen is radically different from the character they have come to love. Can Batman be lighthearted again? Across various media, modern Batman is synonymous with gritty violence, dark themes, and brooding introspection. It seems unlikely that Batman will ever return to the lighthearted adventures of the 1950s and 1960s, and the Batman's success suggests that grim realism will remain supreme for the foreseeable future. Despite this overall trend, lighter fare may still have a place in Batman media. The comical animated feature The Lego Batman Movie was well received, and the official slice of life comic Batman: Wayne Family Adventures has a sizable following on Webtoon. The general success of the bright comedic MCU and criticisms of Ben Affleck's Batman in the DCEU may also combine to push the hero in a new direction, although whether that push can withstand the Batman's influence remains to be seen. Key release dates: Black Adam release date 2022, 10/21. Shazam: The Fury of the Gods release date 2022, 12/21. Aquaman 2 release date 2023, 03/17. The Flash movie release date 2023, 06/23. Blue Beetle release date 2023, 08/18. Joker: Folie à Deux release date 2024, 10/04.